Good morning, class. This week we'll be learning about desert paths, all about deserts and the wonderful things that God created to live in deserts, what a desert is, what kind of plants and animals are there, just a little bit about deserts. So, what do you think about when you hear the word desert? I think most of us think about a great big space with nothing but sand, hot sun, and nothing growing there. Well, that is a type of desert. That's a sandy desert. The Sahara Desert in Africa is an example of that kind of desert, but there are also other deserts too, more of a wilderness type of a desert. So we are going to learn this week about the Mojave Desert, which is located mostly in California, but it extends a little bit into Nevada and Utah as well. And now the Mojave Desert is more like a wilderness. It actually has brush and cacti that grow there. Plants, there are some plants as well. Animals live there, birds, but it doesn't get much rain. And that's why it's called a desert. A desert actually means an area that, because it doesn't get much rain, is very dry. Many times it's very hot in the day, but sometimes it gets really cold at night. So a desert is what it is because it doesn't get much rain. So I'm going to read a story to you today, and it will help you with your phonics story for today and tomorrow. And this is about a dog, and his name is Beak. And believe it or not, I used to have a dog whose name was Beak, which is kind of cool. So this story is called The Camp Dog. I hope you enjoy it. It's about a desert too. Beak thumped his nose on the trailer door, his signal to Mrs. Allison that he was ready to come in. Beak had been out playing with a neighbor boy. As the door opened, Beak ran over to his favorite rug, and Mrs. Allison brought him a dish of fresh water. It was hot in the desert, and water couldn't be found in many places around camp. Beak's long ears seemed to soak up as much water as he drank. Then he shook his head, and water splashed all over the rug. Mrs. Allison laughed. Beak had gotten the rug wet. She put it on a line to dry, and then she played with Beak until it was time to go to the camp staff meeting. She and Mr. Mark got into the truck, while Beak hopped in the back. The staff gathered each morning to pray for the needs of the camp and to thank the Lord for his care. The camp was in a remote area of the desert. Because it was in the desert, the camp was able to have groups all year long, providing many opportunities to win young people to the Lord Jesus. After the meeting, Mrs. Allison walked over to the office and began designing a new camp brochure. It would be sent to churches and families telling about the camp's fun and exciting upcoming activities. Mr. Mark looked at his list of things that needed to be repaired and headed out to get his supplies. Beak ran along beside the truck, easily beating Mr. Mark to the supply building. Beak loved to follow Mr. Mark from building to building as he worked. While Mr. Mark repaired a broken pane of glass at the barn, Beak ran over to check on the animals at the petting pens. New baby pot-bellied pigs scrambled as Beak began barking. Beak got a drink of water from the horse trough and then ran to catch up when he heard the truck start up. The truck wheels kicked up dry sand as it went along the rough camp road. Beak ran to get ahead of the truck. As the desert sun heated up the sand, Beak stopped to take a nap. Early mornings and evenings can get cold in the desert, so Beak really enjoyed the warmth of the sun in the middle of the day. Beak could hear the shouts and singing of the campers as he made his way through the camp. At 5 o'clock, Mr. Mark and Beak stopped by the office to pick up Mrs. Allison. "Hey, Beak," said Mrs. Allison. "Did you and Mark get a lot done today?" Beak stood still, enjoying the attention. Then he ran ahead, this time beating the truck home. Mrs. Allison picked up Beak's rug. The sun had made it dry again. Later, Mrs. Allison and Mr. Mark found their favorite chairs and Beak took his spot on the rug. Mr. Mark prayed. "Thank you for letting us serve you as part of your ministry at camp," prayed Mr. Mark. "Thank you for the boys and girls today." So that was a fun story about Beak the camp dog. This was a camp that kids could come and do fun activities. They would play, they did crafts, they would probably do campfires, and they'd also hear great stories about the Lord. And hopefully that would make a good difference in their life. So that was a good story, and also, of course, about Beak the camp dog. So a little bit about the desert. Make sure you're watching the video that's coming up next, and you'll learn a whole lot about the desert as well. Have a blessed day.